Welcome to the Startups Without Borders podcast. I'm Valentina Primo, and I'm the founder of this platform, this community, and this movement for entrepreneurs who are starting new ventures while starting new lives. Each week, we'll be sharing inspiring interviews with the most audacious startup founders while highlighting resources for anyone starting up. Gear up to get some real-life advice. You're listening to the Startups Without Borders podcast, episode 1. Today, we speak with Ahmad Sufian Bayram. Ahmed is a Syrian social entrepreneur, an author, and a tech leader in the MENA region. He's the Regional Manager of Techstars and has been supporting hundreds of Syrian entrepreneurs through Startup Syria. His most recent book, Entrepreneurship in Exile, is the first study on Syrian refugee entrepreneurs built on data. In this episode, we dive into the 5 keys to developing an entrepreneurial mindset as Ahmed narrates his exciting journey into Techstars while supporting Syrian entrepreneurs in exile. Ahmed, I'm very, very thrilled to have you on the podcast today, so thank you very much for joining.
Well, thank you for having me. Very glad to be at the first series of this broadcast.
Yeah, we're super excited, especially since it's very recent that you launched your second book, Entrepreneurship in Exile, right?
Correct. Yeah, good timing.
Yeah, perfect timing. And I think, I've read the book. It has incredible insights about, the situation and the challenges that refugees are facing today. So I think, hearing your story and what you went through to get there will be really interesting for our listeners. And I wanted to start actually by going back to your own story and how did you get involved with entrepreneurship?
Yes, absolutely. Let me start from the beginning. So I born and raised in Syria, where was used to be like a very peaceful country, slowly growing economy. There was a lot of opportunity. Just like any other youth, I wanted to build something on my own, just to figure out where are the problems, how we can help, and how we can create a difference. Yeah. One of the main issues that I wanted to tackle was actually in these peaceful moments back in the time, I wanted to actually create a joy. So a group of friends and I created a startup for customizing gifts that we used that we called Joy Makers. It has a bunch of customized option for people to share with their family, their lovers, and everyone and their friends. Unfortunately, after that, we started the company in 2010. And then after a year and a half, there was no joy to be made in the country as the country plunged into very armed conflicts that's still going on as we're speaking today. So we had to put our business to shut down. So it started just like a normal with a lot of people when they see something that you wanted to do as a change, and we wanted to do that for everyone. Yeah,
wow. So what was it like when you had to shut down the company? I can imagine the situation must have been dramatic around you. And what did you decide to do then?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we usually most of the startup shut down because maybe they had a co-founder conflict. Maybe they didn't be able to raise fund, or the product was not performing very well in the market, or something else. But none of those were the reasons why we shut down the business. It was just because of the environment around us. When we started, we started with few products that went very well in the market. We were able to raise a pre-seed fund. The investors were really excited and they wanted to do a follow-on and investments. But when things kind of started in 2011, everything around us had shifted. There was no more joy to sell in a conflict. How could you sell gift in a war? So the dreams died at birth. Our investors, they had also to flee the country, seeking for other safer environment for investment. So this was the moment where there was market changing. Also, some of the teams, they wanted to leave the country. We had some of international people who's joining us on the team. They wanted also to go seeking another opportunity somewhere else outside the country. So although the company was performing very well, everything else around us sit down to not be working. At the first time of that, I get like very depressed. Like everything was going very well, and then you have to take U-turn and then like go back again to the point where you started. And I lost hope and gave up hope in the startups world and entrepreneurship. This is a very risky word. I don't want to move forward with it. There is no opportunities left for the startup in the environment. So I start to seek to go on to work in a big company. It's a telecom company based in Syria. Have regular job, regular time of work. You do the same thing every time. Gladly enough, I didn't last for long. It just lasted for 6 months before I quit and get back again to the entrepreneurship and try to understand that building a startup also have a lot of things to do with a team, a lot of things to do with the idea, but surrounding environment have a lot of support for the startups. Without the environment and without the help that we can provide for the startups, brilliant ideas cannot survive. So I started to think of myself how we can be able to help startups who's based still in Syria and conflict zones to change this reality. So we started building the own ecosystem, which was one of my let's say mature life lessons that I got, which actually we need to stop talking and start doing. No one will start to create our own ecosystem. No one will find the solutions to the problems. No one will help us achieve what we wanted to achieve other than ourselves. So I quit the job, the regular job at NTN, and start to consider how we can support building and startups ecosystem or supportive environment that can help everyone who sees a problem they wanted to solve it by creating a business. Right.
Building a supporting ecosystem is basically key to what you do today. How did you decide to go on and seek a job at Techstars? When did you decide to actually move out of Syria? How did that happen there?
Well, that happens at the time where, so when I make this call to actually create a startup ecosystem, I found one of the product that provided by Techstars, a startup weekend as a great tool to help bringing everybody else. So a group of a friend and myself, we decided to do the first startup weekend. Damascus was like in 2013. During a conflict, we faced so many challenges while building this event. So usually around the world, it's really easy to put together an event, gathering people, creating sponsors. But that was not our case in a way of we had to face so many challenges. At the top of them, people mindset. So a lot of people during work get to be very depressed, get to be very let's say short-term looking, not really looking to the future. Why would I start startups? It's really risky. I just need a job, and so on. So we had to work a lot with the people mindset. We had to also convince the sponsors who's not performing very well as the market is already collapsing to actually believe in the youth of this country, believe that they can be able to make some change by sponsoring this event, and we put together the event. After doing an event in a year, we did the second edition, and then after that, I remember the time where I started reaching out to everyone who participated at the startup weekend to see what they are up to. I was doing that after reading a report by the UN saying that 72% of the people in Syria are unemployed. So I started to contact everybody who participated at the startup weekend to see what they are doing. And shockingly for me at that time was more than, I think, 95% of the people, they either working on the same startups that came to the startup weekend to create, they either find a job or they still coming to university. So 85% of those people, they already like a kind of employed or they working on pursuing their own dreams. They never give up. So I saw how much this impact will be on the society, on the community, and I wanted to help and support building this event and give it to reach more cities all around the MENA region. So that's the time when I decided to volunteer to work with Startup Weekend to be able to help and support and give first for the community. And then after doing so, I volunteered for like a 2 month before I leave, they told me like, would you like to get a full-time job for that? And then this is when I said yes. Making the call to leave Damascus, to answer your question, was not really an easy call. This is where I used to live. This is where my friends, my family, roots, the community that I built, and everything else. But it was, let's say, the right decisions at that time, and also to be able not to help, not to focus on helping local problems only, but how we can take this example and what we built in Damascus and what we saw in the first hand, that people within the conflict, they still believe in innovation, they still believe in innovation and entrepreneurship, that they can do something to change their course of life, to make it more wider reach to the more MENA region. Unfortunately, there is 1.4 billion people living in their conflicts. So how we can bring this hope that we created in the city of Damascus to another locations in different countries and different regions around the world.
Right. That's very inspiring and very uplifting to hear that people don't lose hope. People keep trying and keep chasing their dreams, right?
Absolutely, and we're seeing that not only with the people in the conflicts, but also with the refugees community who lost everything almost, and then left everything behind and start over again at the country. When they coming to the new country, they don't come with depression. They lost everything and they want to start again. They come with very high motivations. They wanted to do more and more. That's why we see refugees are more entrepreneurial than actually immigrants, and more entrepreneurial than actually local. As the call of leaving, moving out, back in your stuff, and just move out to a new country is risky by itself. So they're becoming more risk takers than anyone else to actually start to creating the business, which is something I learned myself from them, taking the risk, go out to your conflict zone. This is also personal learnings that we see with the people who's fighting in a conflict. They wanted to change their reality, and also for refugees community who just reach out to new cities and they start to go and ask, how can I learn a new language? How can I do a business? How can I volunteer in some of the activities? How can I use these opportunities? For a lot of those community, for people in conflict and refugees, I think one of the common things between them is creating a business and creating a startup is not about probabilities or chances for them to create the next $1 billion company, or they're becoming rich. It's more win or lose game. For a lot of people, it's the second chance opportunity that I got to take back my own life. So they pursue it and do more harder work for actually working on that and doing it. One of the examples that I'll sometimes love to use is when you're playing basketball and you have 1 second left. What would you do? You just throw the ball. Yeah. You not gonna calculate the chances. I'm gonna hit it. I'm gonna hit this point or not. You just throw it. And this has happened with the refugees community and people in conflicts also community. They create the business. They, even with a lot of the challenges they are facing, which has been discussed in the book a lot, they don't see those challenges as borders. They cannot cross. No, this is a challenge for me to actually to cross it. This is what makes me an entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and this is very important because it goes against a lot of, preconceptions that people have regarding refugees and migrants. In your book, you actually prove that in many places, statistics show that refugees have a higher entrepreneurial rate than locals, which is incredible.
Absolutely. And this is not my book mainly focus on the Syrian entrepreneurs, but we can take this as an example to expand it to all across other locations. We see refugees in some other locations in Kenya. They are building a lot of businesses. We see people, the Venezuelan refugees coming now to Latin, is also starting to create their own businesses and do more of the works. It was, to be honest, after publishing this book, a lot of messages I received from people. So also a kind of surprised about the numbers that are coming out, because as you mentioned, a lot of people, they have a different perspective on the community. But I think through this age that we live and this time that we're living in, where communication is very grateful tools, people are more like open to the community, to everyone. Also, refugees who's coming, it's also using those technologies to understand the new environment. That made it a bit easier for them to expand their dreams, let's say, and start working on their businesses. And we see this impact happening in every host countries that they have. Yes, refugees, they need help, they need support. It might be a burden for the country, for some countries to share their resources. But when the time comes, is also they realize they came with them with their talents. They came with them with their understanding of the environment. They came with them with their innovation, with their skills that we all can benefit from. So it's more like a win-win situation for both the host societies and the refugees communities.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is also very related to the work you do at Jusoor, right? Was that the moment when you got inspired to join Jusoor and begin the bootcamps for Syrian entrepreneurs, or how did that happen?
Well, honestly, when we started like Jusoor Entrepreneurship Program, was the main thing is also to fill the gap that we see in the ecosystem. So a lot of people who's coming out as conflict zones or coming out as a refugees community, it was really hard for them after getting the inspiration, getting the motivation. They start their own business to continue, as there is at that time no acceleration program that really or pre-acceleration program that really focused on the community. We're talking here around 2014, 2015. Yeah. So we started at a program. At first was just an idea where we get people to have access to mentorship. So we organized series of online mentorship, where we host one of the Arab and Syrian successful entrepreneurs to talk directly to the Syrian entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs refugees about their business, answering some of their questions. And then we found out like communicating with people online is also creating some limitation for us. We wanted to spend more time, want to sit with them, work with them directly. So we started Jusoor Bootcamp that we host it annually. Every year, like maybe twice per year in Beirut, where we bring the Syrian entrepreneurs, all of them, into one place to provide them with a mentorship regarding on how they can build their business model, financials, marketing, how they can raise funds, how they can pitch their ideas, and get those learnings directly from great mentors. And then after that, we realized that also a challenge for them. After going back, they need a small fund to create the business. The thing about the refugees communities and the communities in conflict entrepreneurs, bootstrapping for their business sometimes means sacrificing their own meals. As not much money left for them, or a lot of them left the country without having any means and resources. This is becoming like very risky. So it takes them more time to build a business and create their business. For that, we decided like to give no equity fund for people, where they can use this money to build their businesses, to kick off the business, let's say, and this help them build a product, build a prototype, and test the market. If it's working, they can pursue it, the dreams, by going to proper investment opportunities that are available for them. So this is how the programs got from small into very big. Fast forward today in 2018, we've been able to help more than 185 startups in the region, which is really amazing. Not only because it's a big number for the startups, it's actually to realize that there is a lot of startups that are actually applying that will still needs help and support. So there's a lot of the Syrian entrepreneurs who's taking these opportunities to build their businesses when let's say the support is available for them.
Right. I mean, I had the chance to mentor at one of the boot camps, and I saw the impact, and I saw the willingness. It's just very inspiring, and it's just amazing to see the results it can bring. Especially because, coming from you're like the middleman. You're between, Techstars, this huge global organization that supports ecosystems around the world, And then with Jusoor, you give it back to, the community of Syrian entrepreneurs and refugee entrepreneurs. So I think it's a very good spot to be at that you're in. And you were just mentioning some lessons learned on the way, and I wanted to get back on that and recap a few of them. So you said, stop talking and start doing, right?
Yes, absolutely. This is the sense. Unfortunately, not a lot of people in our region get to this reality. Maybe the conflicts and the fragile situations that we've been to in the region help us to realize that we need to take those actions. Back to the story that I mentioned, at some point, I just give up. I was only talking about not having a supportive ecosystem for the startups. Just saying there's no accelerator programs. I lost my investors. It's really hard for me to find another investors. There is no market. It was only mostly talking and putting some obstacles in front of me to create something until I realized I have to stop and change that reality. So now we have better ecosystem, supportive environment, more friendly society that actually believe in entrepreneurship as well, that are willing to help the society. So for me, this was one of the first things for that. Also want to highlight one of the other lesson learned, which is, as mentioning Techstars, one of the fundamental values of Techstars, which is giving first for the community. A lot of people also wait until they receive something to give back, but give first philosophy. It's not just to wait for something to be done for you in order to act, but taking this initiative to start first and giving first to the people. That in a time you start to realize how much benefit this will get back to you from other people. So for me, I wanted to give first to the community of entrepreneurs across all the region. So I wanted to volunteer. I was working full-time volunteer at the startup weekend. After that, it's just happened for me. They offered the full-time job to create the business and working with that. Another things I wanted to highlight with those lesson learned that I faced throughout my journey to reach out what I am now is actually start also believe in learnings and believe in investing in yourself in every single day. This is something we all face as not just the entrepreneurs, other youth in conflict zones, as a refugees communities. Education is not becoming very hard for a lot of people to reach, especially quality higher education. We always see the devastating numbers of how many Syrian children are out of the school today, which is a mission that we all need to help and support to get them back to the school, similar to the other refugees. So for that, I would also highlight that we need to always to pursue the higher education. Well, not specifically going to university, but not to stop learning, whether by trying something new, going to online courses that can help us create a peer-to-peer learning groups that could be also very beneficial to learn from each other experiences, which is something I used to do back in Damascus, where sitting with a friend just to learn from each other. Each one has a specific mentality and a specific knowledge in a domain that we can all share and get to work with us. I just remember the time when I used to go to universities where we were not very up to date with what was going on about the world, but I was really fascinated to learn more about the sharing economy, the global economy. That was in 2010, where Uber was just small startups happened to be only in Silicon Valley and San Francisco. There was not major things, but I was very fascinated about how this economy can really change the world. What does it mean for us in conflict zones? What does it mean for us here in Syria? Even though it will be very, let's say, very funny for people to hear, why would I share when I have limited stuff? Why would I participate in this specific economy? But I start to learn more about it, investigate more about it, and see how this can really benefit us. So I started also blogging about it, which being the first blog in Arabic that tackle the power of the sharing economy and the collaborative economy. Was very in the early, very beginning. That helps a lot of people to learn about this topic and start creating initiatives, start creating businesses. That some of them that we use just to talk through comments and small discussion about this topic, and now they are running very successful startups in this domain, and it's a very successful initiative they are doing for this specific economy. So learn something new. Always invest in yourself. It's also my personal lessons.
Yeah.
And the last one.
Sorry. This is such an important lesson, right? Learn something new every day. I mean, when it comes to mindset, I guess you don't just have the mindset, you work on your mindset all the time, right?
That's very true. That's very true. And this is something that you always get from successful entrepreneurs, and you build it on with them when they say how you become a successful entrepreneur. They always say, like, I worked hard on it. I learned, I followed, I didn't stop questioning myself, questioning the people around me. I never stopped supporting the community. I didn't stop asking for people for help in return, and work very hard to establish the business, which is one of the, for me, was one of the top, like a personal, if we're going to say, mindset that I find it in a lot of very successful people, and I adopt it for myself. So we always hear people saying you need to work smart, not hard.
Yeah.
I kind of disagree. I think people should work hard, not smart. The reason why is because smart is very subjective. So what is smart for me might be not so smart for someone else who face very different experience.
Right.
So people argue politics, some people argue religion, some people argue thoughts. So there's no one smart common wisdom that people can follow. Otherwise, everyone will become successful. But what helps people to become more successful is by working hard and failing more often and learning from these failings. This helps people a lot to realize what went wrong and how we can correct it. So when they make the decisions, it was not because of their biased, unconscious bias, or just because they felt it's good. It's more about, this is my learnings, this is my experience. So experience helps a lot of people. So that's one of the most important lessons for people, not to be afraid of failing. Failing, it's completely positive things, because this is help us learn, be open to other people to judge you, to be critical in your thoughts and intellect. So just be very open to have these conversations with people, and make sure to work more harder. That helps you fail more often. So you become more smartest in your decisions than before.
Right. And you just said a key word there, which is failure. I think a big part of working on your mindset and, acquiring this growth mindset is accepting failure. And it's such a big challenge for all of us, right? How did you work on that, on accepting failure and taking it as a lesson learned instead of a personal failure and a statement that your capabilities do not reach that far?
Well, this is something actually is very hard. You never feel yourself, I'm fine with failing, especially when you put a lot of hard work, when you put a lot of effort. But understanding what this will open to you will get you to realize the benefit of the failing. So when you fail, I know it's depressing. I know it's letting people down a little bit after putting so much hard work to fail. But understand, what did I learn from this failing, and how we can avoid it for next times, and how this will open new opportunities for me. This helps a lot of people to realize that was not really a failing, because I didn't give up. I still can give it another try. I still can learn from it and do it again in a better way. So this helps people to actually do it. It's really hard for people. So I know people who's listening to us right now will say, it's not easy to fail. It's not easy to be to work so hard into something and then just like it doesn't work, and then you have to accept it that easily. It's very hard, but you have to fight it. You have to work more into it, and with the time, it's become like very easier for you as you will do fewer mistakes in the process, which is we're saying you become smarter by working harder.
Right. That's very interesting. Now, do you have some secret recipes or exercises that you do to work on your mindset, to remind yourself of, taking a risk, learning something new? Is there any tips that you can give aspiring entrepreneurs?
Well, I will go into like a different tips. Let's say I'm not gonna say like read more books or listen to some other people. For myself, I'll put myself into different situations, different projects, get myself into different communities, different groups than the people that I used to go with. This will expose you to more learnings. There is always something to learn from someone else. No matter who they are, no matter where they are living, no matter what their experience, if you are more experienced, you are more educated, you are more than the other person, but there is always something else that you can learn, which is one of the things I ask myself when I meet new people. What can I learn from this person? What's the number one things that I can have, they can teach me, I can learn from them, and start exposing more of that. Reading books is still great. Taking online courses is amazing. Getting a mentor is wonderful. But for myself, experience it myself, going to this totally different communities to understand what's happening in there, getting involved with one-to-one conversation with one person to learn from them. It helps me open new doors in my mind that never been discovered.
Yeah. I mean, that's so beautiful to think as an approach to life, right? Every single person I meet has something to teach me. I think that's aside from working on your mindset, it's a beautiful way to go about life, right? And I think also and you're a great example of that. I mean, every time we see you, you're either speaking at conferences or writing a book, publishing a book, mentoring at a boot camp, training at a boot camp. I mean, you don't seem to stop. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about your book, because this has come out very recently. It's been over a month, I think, right?
Over a month. Yeah, almost a month and a couple of days.
Exactly. It has thousands of downloads. And I mean, it's the first book to ever document and bring real data about refugees, their challenges and their needs, but in particular, refugee entrepreneurs, which is really interesting. You went out there, found the entrepreneurs, the female entrepreneurs, the male entrepreneurs working across different countries, and brought that all together in a book. So what is the most surprising finding that you included in the book?
Sure. To be honest, which is sometimes it's bad for the author to say that, is like a lot of things was very surprising for me in discovering the book. Yeah. That doesn't mean I was not involved with it or I didn't know it before, but in the sense of adding numbers next to a thought and adding a story next to an idea, it's become like very different perspective on seeing the situation that you're having. So although I've been very involved in the situation and the situation on the ground, meeting a lot of entrepreneurs, through the joy of writing this book, I end up visiting 10 different countries in order to collect data and information, back and meeting Syrian entrepreneurs in San Francisco, until meeting entrepreneurs in Kuala Lumpur, in the Middle East, in Europe, and elsewhere. It get me to understand in reality how much people that I met, they really wanted to create something. They see an opportunity. They believe in themselves. They are capable of starting a business. I always thought this is not the case for refugees. Not a lot of people they wanted to do like create a business, but it happened that there is more and more. Every time, like I go somewhere else, I found more people who's interested to organize their own startup activities. Another things that I found it very fascinating is female entrepreneurs. A lot of the time, because of the conflict and because of the act of fleeing out the countries, women become subject to a lot of the challenges they are facing. They become suddenly responsible for a family because of the loss of a male of friends, or moving out to new locations where means are really needed, and one person cannot provide it for the family, so women, they have to step up and create it. Finding that the Syrian female entrepreneurs that are really taking these initiatives to actually create this business, and coming with the great ideas, great innovation ideas, was really fascinating. So in 2009, I think women-female participation was at the stage of 4.4. Now, talking in some locations, or in average in all host countries that supporting refugees, we're talking about 26% on average. So this is a huge jump for the female participation. It shows you how female are actually taking responsibility to support their friends and support the people. And there's a lot of ideas, like coming from small businesses, as of cleaning vegetables and going them. As we have, Tom is working on now, and she's running a crowdfunding campaign to support that, and you backing up this campaign, and so also very innovative of startups that some of them they're working on AI startups based in Amman. They wanted to create innovation with it, so there's no limit for those innovations. So it was really fascinating by every single female entrepreneurs I met throughout the process of writing this book. In addition to a lot of data, a lot of information that you will find if you're going to read this book. So we'll leave that as a teaser for people to go ahead and read it.
Amazing. And just to give them a sneak peek, or to get the book, what do they have to do?
Well, the book is based on donation. If we want to start a global conversation regarding refugees, we should not limit it to anyone. So I decided not to sell this book. I decided to make it for free for public. Anyone who wanted to have it, they can go ahead and download it for free. If they like it, they can support this work by donating. They can go to Google Books. They can go to my own website with my own name to find this book and go ahead and download it. But the most important thing is they can go ahead to read this fact, read more about those people, and then act. Every single one of us can actually do something to support this cause. There's a lot of recommendation and advice for people to take, like as tips they can start doing as of today to support those people.
Right. Just to recap, the website is ahmedsb.com, so you can go there and download the book and leave a donation. So you're the go-to person for lots of refugee entrepreneurs from Syria, but not just from Syria. What is your advice for anyone that wants to start? What is the first step they should take?
Well, the first things I would tell people to start doing is engaging with the community. You cannot build a startup without understanding the environment that you are in. Who's the key player that's there? If there's a community in your universities who's doing workshops on entrepreneurship, if there's incubators, co-working spaces, if there's a startups that you can start helping in order to learn from them before you go ahead and start your own business, this is the right step. This helps a lot of people to get inspired about entrepreneurship, understanding building a startup is not easy. Entrepreneurship is not easy. But it's very let's say sexy. A lot of people hear about it everywhere in the world, so they wanted to become entrepreneurs. So getting yourself involved at first before taking the full commitment, it's really great to expose yourself on this in this environment. After that, I would also recommend people start to look on your friends and start to build your own team. Having a great team is really, really, really crucial in building a great startups. So start to understand, I have a business background. Who's going to be the best person who has an IT background? Or I need to find a designer. Who's a new friend will be the best perfect fit for that. If you don't have around you a great co-founders, they wanted to join, maybe going to Startup Weekend might be a very great idea to have to put your idea, formulate a team, and validate your business. Also get the chance maybe to win some of the support from the community, meet the great mentors, and meet the great judges that will also support. In addition to that, we are in a time where, let's say, hopefully a lot of the people, they have access to the internet. And the internet will find a lot of information and tools and resources to actually help you better get those opportunities and learn more about the entrepreneurship. A lot of YouTube channels, a lot of online courses that you can get. Go to Refugees Without Borders to gain of those resources, get of those knowledge. Go on other platforms where they share more tips on entrepreneurship. This helps people learn more and more. And most importantly, like, believe in yourself. Being refugees does not mean, or living in a conflict zones area, or generally in the Middle East, where in some countries the economy not really functioning very well. This doesn't mean you cannot build your startups. There is hundreds of thousands of examples of great startups that started in this kind of environment, with zero support, with no one around them to help, that actually created this help for themselves, created this supportive environment, and created their own businesses. So don't limit yourself. No matter where they are, you are capable of achieving what you want to achieve if you put some hard work on it.
Right. That's a very powerful message. And Ahmed, I loved your 5 lessons. So I just wanted to recap quickly on them. You said, number 1, stop talking and start doing. Number 2 was take the risk, right?
Correct. Yes.
Number 3, learn something new.
Okay. Number 4, go first. And number 5 is work hard, not smart.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Ahmed. It's been an incredible interview. We are left with lots of inspiration and great insights. So looking forward to another episode of the podcast, and have a lovely day.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
You like what you hear? You should definitely follow us on your favorite platform. So next time you're on Instagram or Facebook, type Startups Without Borders and check out all the videos, the stories, and the resources for you to become a legend.